Thank you again, everyone. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, which I hope all of you, this will be something that you've heard before. We started in April 2010 as a support group, and then we evolved to a full-fledged organization in September 2012 on the anniversary of my 60th birthday. Now, I know people who are good at math are calculating, trying to figure out my age, but I'll tell you, I am 72, so you can save that energy for something else.
You look amazing.
Yes, yes.
Okay. But do you think I could pass as the new 60? Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. So the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with grassroots basis. We were discovered or established here in Southwest. Our mission is to advocate, something we're going to hear a lot about tonight, to advocate and improve the overall well-being of women and men. And we do that through outreach, education, support, and advocacy. And we do that to help to reduce the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer. Some of you may know that the District of Columbia, unfortunately, has some of the highest incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer in the country. And women like me are really pushing those numbers. So our support group meeting is the signature program of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. Our vision is to achieve and embrace a world community free of breast cancer. And as I said, our signature program is our monthly support group where we bring in wonderful speakers as we have today. Our guest speaker, Janice Workhoff from Houston, Texas, our artistic director from Arena Stage, Hannah Sharif. Greetings we have by Professor Alejandra Hurtado, and we will be hearing from some of our collaborators, such as Lisa Baines from the American Cancer Society and our community supporter, Janelle Leonard. We may also be joined by Sylvia Powers, who is actually in Vegas, depending on her schedule. So, without further delay, I'm going to bring forward our artistic director, Hannah Sharif. And I'm going to allow Hannah to tell you about all the great work that she has done rather than my introducing her to you. But I can say this much. The Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund is so proud of the work of Arena Stage, sort of being one of the first to do a number of things in the country. But I am even prouder that Hannah is our new artistic director. And so I'm going to let her, in her opening remarks, tell us about the wonderful things that she has done, and particularly, so I'm keep going too far, particularly some of the programs that she has started to help to ensure that the theater world is more welcoming to a much broader audience. So I applaud you for that, Hannah. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Well, I just want to say I feel like I'm in such incredible company. It's a gift to be with all of you today. I'm Hannah Sharif, Artistic Director of Arena Stage, and I am here because of the great spirit of Thelma D. Jones, which we all know, and because of the great work of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund's work, and in celebration of the Women's History Month today. I also just want to say that I am also a Houstonian. I am a recent transplant to the great District of Columbia, but I was raised in Houston, Texas, and Houston is still home. And I'm very jealous of anyone who got to be at the rodeo this week. I saw the pictures, and I was yearning for home. I am buoyed though by the great work that I get to do here at Arena Stage. For those of you who have had the pleasure and fortune of growing up in Washington, D.C., you know that Arena is an institution. What you may not know is that the very roots of the organization are the radical reasons why I decided that I wanted to rest my cowgirl hat here. Um, in 1950, Arena Stage was created by our founder, Zelda Fitchandler, and it was created to be the first integrated theater company in the country. Integrated not just in terms of its audience, but also the artist on stage. She was someone who believed that our humanity could only really be found through our connection and a sense of diversity, that we could find each other through art. And I have often told the story that I was 19 years old. I was a sophomore at Spelman College when I started my own scrappy theater company. And the same thing that happened that year is that I discovered the writings of Zelda Fitchandler, who was known as like one of the kind of godmothers of the American regional theater movement. And I had a lot of criticism of that regional theater movement. And then I read the writings of the woman who helped create the industry, who was also channeling and challenging and continuing to push the artists and the institutions to do better at serving community. And that really resonated with me. So I found myself inspired by her work, by her words. And I often say in that way that only a 19-year-old who doesn't know anything about the world can. I would tell everybody, if I ever run a theater that's not my own, it has to be Arena Stage. And then a full, 23 years later, I have the privilege of helming this kind of institution that has really been at the front of the frontier of the work of great art that moves community. So I'm excited to be here and to be blowing open the doors of Arena Stage and really thinking about not just how we create great art on our stage, but how we connect in collaboration and partnerships with organizations and people doing the meaningful work in our community, right? So how we take the themes that we see in our shows on our stage and connect with the people who are serving communities outside of our theater. That feels radically important to me. And I think it's part of how we're able to transform community and society together. Um, when Thelma let me know that the theme of today's conversation was Still I Rise, I immediately heard the kind of like thick, deep tenor of Maya Angelou's voice. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. And I was also reminded of the generations of women who have defied the odds, every expectation, underestimation, barrier, or roadblock in order to transform our communities. And I know that I come from a long line of really audacious women, women who understood the value of their ingenuity, their intellect and tenacity, as well as their charm, beauty, humor, and heart. And I like to say that I take the spirit of those bold ancestors and the undeniable belief of their right to exist free and fully formed and revel in their humanity. I take the spirit of those ancestral energies into my work every day. I'm an artist who uses story as a tool for liberation. And I find myself constantly inspired by the women I encounter in my daily life and also in history. And there's so much symmetry that I'm currently finding between today's world and the world of the Gilded Age in New York, where I most recently spent time as I was directing Arena's most recent production, The Age of Innocence. For those who don't know, The Age of Innocence was set in 1870, but was written in 1920 by Edith Wharton. And it is a story that was crafted um, featuring two women, cousins on opposite sides of society, of the societal pendulum, striving to rise above their status, uh, fighting against rumors being spread about them and their potential. And Edith Wharton, who was a divorcee expat in Paris, was writing to reconcile the strictures of a society that threatened to suffocate her in America for her failure to conform to the rules and regulations and the limitations that were put on her. And when I first programmed this story over a year ago, I don't think I could have predicted how urgent the adaptation would be. The women in the story are challenged by a pressure from the public eye and yet remain intent on resisting the modes of governance and society rules that threaten to constrain them. They are brave, curious, hopeful, and generous in spirit. And I think that in this contemporary modern world where we continue to watch a government transform the sense of our own autonomy, a government challenge our right to our full humanity, a government attempt to erase us from the websites and the history, I find myself leaning in to the stories that allow us to write ourselves more fully into history. The show is a treatise on the shifting scales of the individual versus the collective good. And I think it's deeply relevant. And it has been a wonderful experience to be able to paint in the tapestry of the Gilded Age a story that brings so many questions to the forefront. So I hope that for those of you in Washington, D.C., you'll have a chance to see this show. It runs through March 30th here at Arena Stage in the Fitz-Chandler Theater. We have a number of other shows on our stage, and we've been in collaboration and partnership on all of those shows. Last week, in collaboration with The Age of Innocence, we partnered with an organization called Dolls and Dreams, which focuses on helping young girls push past the challenges they've had in life to fully realize their hopes and ambitions. And in that partnership, we did a tea that celebrated the leadership of 5 women in the arts here in the Washington, D.C. area. It was a really inspiring day that looked at the reality of the women like Thelma and like you, Janice, who are doing the good work for our communities here. Up next, for those who are interested in what we've got on our stage coming up, we have a new play by Native American playwright Larissa Fasthorse called Fake It Till You Make It. It is a farce because God knows we all need to laugh nowadays. But it is a play set in the nonprofit sector and explores the questions of Indigenous identity and the absurdities of ambition and authenticity. There are lots of questions of how much DNA you have to have in order to be counted. Following that, we have a show by Terrell Alvin McCraney, who won the Oscar for his screenplay Moonlight. It is a brand new world premiere play called We Are Gathered, inspired by Shakespeare's wedding plays. It looks to celebrate the federal legalization of gay marriage. It is an unapologetic party and will be produced in conjunction with World Pride that is here in DC. And then finally, we close our season this year with the first ever musical adaptation of A Wrinkle in Time, which I think is, is as we're developing it, it is truly one of the most extraordinary musicals I've had the pleasure of working on in more than a decade. And that is a story that definitely centers the power of young women and the need for our tenacity and fearlessness to help save the world. So I'm honored to be part of the DC community and really excited to be able to bring forward the voices of artists I believe are the best that our country has to offer, and with work that I hope will find real connection and healing within our community. So I sincerely hope that I get to see all of you at the theater this spring, and it is such a privilege to just be able to say hello and be part of the welcome party for this Thelma D. Jones Westminster Fund celebration of women's history. Thank you, Thelma, for the invitation. Thank you for all of the love and support that you've shown. Thelma has been at every show and just been a great champion. And on a personal note, I will say that I have had a number of family members who have struggled through the challenges of breast cancer. My mother, while not a breast cancer survivor, survived twice leukemia and is currently in her fight with ovarian cancer. And so the work that we do to raise awareness and the support that this group, the foundation of this group, has saved, I know, many lives. And I have just such deep appreciation, Thelma, for your work and commitment to other women who are struggling with cancer in our community. So thank you for the invitation. It's so lovely to meet all of you, and I look forward to hearing what my fellow Houstonian has to say soon.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I really appreciate that, all that you have said, and I especially appreciate hearing about your connection to cancer. And I might add that we are currently planning an event that's pretty much in, and I'm using theater terms, pretty much in production, but it is underway, and it's entitled What is the Link? And that is the link between breast and ovarian cancer. So I hope that once we have confirmed the date, that if you are around at that time, we can invite you back. And if your mom feels up to it, we welcome having her on the line as well. So thank you again, Hannah. Okay. And so earlier I mentioned that we have people on the line from different places. Sergio is in Mexico. We have the DMV represented, and we also, through some of our support group meetings, have been fortunate enough more than once, twice, or three times to have speakers from Madrid, Spain. And that speaker, who's coming up next, Alejandra Hurtado, has spreaded the word about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, not only to her family in Spain, but also to her sister and her sister's family in California, and to her mom, who lives or was in Guatemala at one point, and her mother spoke to us from Guatemala. So when you hear hear me mentioning that we have represented 6 different countries and nearly 20 US states, you now have the proof of that. And so I want to introduce Professor Alejandra Hurtado, who we've done a number of projects together, and I'll let her tell you as she greet us with her new little bambino.
Hi, everyone. I'm very proud to be a global ambassador of the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund. It's really a pleasure for me to be here and to celebrate together the Women's History Month. For this month, the National Women's History Alliance, selected the theme Moving Forward Together, Women Educating and Inspiring Generations. So as you can see here, we have the new generation who's still learning to be at meetings, and celebrating the collective strength and influence of women in education, mentorship, and leadership. Throughout the years, Ms. Jones has been a true leader and has served as a bridge that has brought all of us together, promoting our collective strength. And I've had the privilege of working with Ms. Jones in many projects in which we address cancer disparities across the continuum, including projects on mammography, genetic screening, acupressure, peer survival coach intervention, and Diego has a lot to say too. But the contribution from Ms. Jones and the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund has been instrumental to ensure that research really meets the needs of the community and that research is more relevant and meaningful and impactful. Despite all the challenges that we are now facing, our work to promote equity is more important than ever. And I want to bring the words of Michelle Obama. Every day you have the power to choose our better history. by opening your hearts and minds and by speaking up for what you know is right. So we need to persevere by finding our collective strength. And I would like to thank Ms. Jones for being this inspiring role model, for her wisdom, passion, commitment, and generosity, and the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund for bringing us hope and support in these challenging times. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alejandra. One of the many things that I pride myself in doing is getting great speakers. And I really know how to get the ones who make me look good. So thank you both, Hannah and Alejandra, for making the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund look really good in the eyes of the public. And just want to remind you, this is being recorded. So if you'd like to hear those great words about the Thelma D. Jones Breast Cancer Fund, more information about Arena's stage, and the great message that Alejandra just gave, you will be able to hear the recording within 24 hours, and you can hear it as many times as your heart desires. So with that in mind, sorry, I dropped my specs. So with that in mind, I'd like to bring Houston in the house and introduce our guest speaker. Again, I'm not going to say or read a whole lot about Janice, but I will say this much. She is, of course, the executive director of Angels Surviving Cancer, Inc., and I hope she will tell us how how her organization received that name. But let me just share a little bit about her. When you think about it, that your life is your message to the world, make sure it's inspiring. And that's what Janice is going to leave us with an inspiring message today. So over 3 decades ago, Janice received the word that no young mother wants to hear. You have breast cancer. Her fight not only turned her into a victory for her, but advocacy for others. As a 37-year breast cancer survivor, her motto is, I am on a mission, not remission. And when she gave me the title of her speech, Still I Rise, or to help to develop the theme, I knew she was my kind of person. Because as Hannah was mentioning some of the powerful words from the poem, my late mother loved Still I Rise, and she said it, read that poem so many times at events in North Carolina. So to hear that, and that is your theme, I knew that this was going to be a great meeting. So with that in mind, Janice, I would like to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Thelma. Thank you so much. I am so glad to hear about Thelma D. Jones Foundation. I was introduced to Thelma by Sylvia Powers, which is up at we're going to be meeting her in Vegas, and she wasn't able to get on, and she's like, you got to do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I want to learn more and more about that. I'm just excited about Thelma Jones Foundation. And yes, I am in Houston by way of Kansas City, Missouri, though. I've been here about 40 years, but I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri. But I love Houston. I'm glad to be here in Houston. I did go to the rodeo, so I always go to the rodeo. I have a great time at the rodeo. So I'm glad to be here for this Women's Health Month, and I'm so glad to be here among such awesome people. So I did have a slide to tell you guys a little bit about Angels Surviving Cancer. So Sergio has the slide. So I think it's like about 4 or 5 of them. It's not a whole lot. You can go ahead and share the screen. I think I sent it right. Yeah, I did. So I just wanted to talk about Angels Surviving Cancer a little bit and the advocacy work that we do here in the Houston and surrounding areas. So we honorably and humbly serve our community, Angels Surviving Cancer. And that particular name came about because we felt like the word angels, it symbolized hope, support, and compassion. And so we have that name, Angels Surviving Cancer. Sergio. And so that was done. I'm a 37-year survivor now. That was done when I was 35, 35-year survivor. So I take every year. I'm 37 this time, Sergio. I want to talk a little bit about our medical advisor. These are some powerful, powerful women, and that's how we came with Still I Rise. There's a program that clinical psychologist Jacqueline Jones and Tiffany Avery, the oncologist, is doing. We received a grant from MD Anderson Cancer Center, $3.8 million grant. We're part of the Backbone Committee, and what that grant is doing, it's helping focus on reducing breast cancer disparities in the Houston and greater area. So we're a part of that, and so we had to come up with a proposal to get some of the funding. And so we came up with Still I Rise. It's a program called Paving and Still I Rise. It's a 12-week program, and breast cancer survivors can be a part of that program for free. And they meet for 12 weeks. And the paving part is mostly the psychologist part, the mental health part of before breast cancer and after breast cancer. So a lot of times we don't deal with that. And so we came up with that program. And then the Still I Rise program is about health and wellness, about self-care, taking better care of ourselves. It's a 12-week program up under that particular grant. It's still going on now. This is our second. We did 20 women the first term, and now we're doing 20 more women. We're in our second term off of that grant. So it has really been exciting. I'm excited to have these ladies, these doctors, and they are just excited about this grant. We have had really, really good feedback from it. It has really helped a lot of ladies because they're in their safe space. And a lot of time, breast cancer survivors are not able to really express how they really feel about the loss of their breasts, about being diagnosed. Some of these ladies are single from 18 to 50, about dating again, different things like that. So this program has just been absolutely awesome. So that's how that particular program came about, from being up under that grant. And that grant is supported by Bristol Myers, the Cullen Trust Health Care, and Erica Klein, and Harris Health, which is one of the systems, and TSU, MD Anderson. And so we were just blessed to be a part of that on the Backbone part. So we're blessed to be a part of that $3.8 million grant that is still ongoing. Next. So just talking about our mission and what we're committed to, and we're talking about advocacy. We're in the community to enlighten, to empower, to encourage, and to educate the community about breast health awareness. And so not only just to live, but to be able to maintain a quality of life. So we go and we talking to the ladies. We have certified patient navigators, and we are certified community health workers. Sergio. And then our vision, of course, is to promote an atmosphere of an environment of inclusiveness. I'm not going to read all of it, but in the Harris County, we really, we go in when the ladies are being diagnosed, making sure they understand the language that is being expressed to them, making sure that their particular team, and they have gotten a lot better since 37 years ago. The teams now, some of the teams are really good at really explaining to the ladies when they're going through what they're getting ready to go through, the medication, different things like that. So where we come in is we come to make sure that they're understanding that they have connection with the doctor. Is that the doctor they want? Are they really paying attention to them? Or are they really seeing them in a timely manner? Sergio. And just understanding that we are there for them. We just want them to understand that we are warriors in this fight, and they will maintain the quality of life, and just really trying to help them to get through this particular journey. Sergio. So the biggest program that we have with the Angels Surviving Cancer is the Janice Work Up Care Legacy Program. And that program helps ladies with their basic needs. That was one of the situations with me when you're diagnosed, you have to go through so many testing, you have to use your PTO. Some of these ladies are using their insurance, some of them are using their PTO, some of them born from families, some of them are not even taking it because they just cannot be off work or anything. So this particular program has been just been very, very successful, been funded really by donations from people that we know, by donations from our members, that their family and friends. So it's been an awesome, awesome program, and it has really been able to help a lot of ladies, and we're excited about this particular program. Sergio. And we like to meet the angels. We like to meet the ladies where they are. So now the ladies are being diagnosed younger and younger, 18 to 50. And so we have to meet them where they are. I'm 60. How old am I? I'm 69. And so that's going to be different from somebody that's diagnosed 18. I was diagnosed at age 32. So we're trying to meet them where they are. How can we get them? The challenge has been getting them to come to educational events or different things like that. So we are trying to find out. Well, we have found some ways. We did a spa, eyelash, hair thing, and we got a whole lot of ladies there with that. And on top of that, we were able to break out into sessions and be able to get them in the sessions to be able to talk. So just meeting the ladies where they are is just so important, and making sure that we have a listening ear and making sure that they have a safe place. Sergio. So this is just some of the pictures that we've done in the community. We have our annual event, which is coming up in June, is called Scholarship and Survivors Fundraiser Breakfast. And what we do in this breakfast is we honor students whose mother is a breast cancer survivor, the scholarship, and they're going on to higher learning, or either their mother has passed away of breast cancer. And then also we honor ladies that are going through breast cancer with school-aged children with monetary gift. And we have a big prayer breakfast. We had like about 450 last year. We bring in speakers, we bring in singers, and we have a little education, but that's mostly just to honor these ladies, just to know that we're proud of them, just to try to give them some type of hope, and encouragement during this particular breakfast. Sergio. And just some more pictures where we've done a walk and, in the community. And those are some of the students down there. We have honored the students. Actually come back. Some of them come back to the breakfast and tell us how they really appreciate it, and we really appreciate them. Sergio. This is me and my executive assistant, Lanita Pearl Burton. We work real close together. She's an awesome advocate in the community. She's a certified patient navigator. We just want to make sure that they're getting all the information that they need. We had a young lady this week. Actually, she's my goddaughter, and I lost her this week. And it was from fear because her mother had been diagnosed. And when she actually went in, she was at stage 4, and she knew that that was there. So that right there just breaks my heart because we're in the community. She had been in the community with me and she knew, but we just have to keep on paving the pavements as an advocate and in the community for these ladies to know that technology has changed so much, and it's so much more, that they can learn about. It's so much more advanced that they don't have to be scared. The early detection is the key. But when you're coming in, at stage 4, and then it went into her liver, and she passed away on Saturday. So just putting a little note there, just continually pray for my family in a special way. Sergio, I think that's all. Yeah, that's just the information on angels. And just want to thank you again for having me, and just being an advocate, just making sure that we are getting the same information as all the other ladies are getting it, and getting it in a timely manner, making sure these ladies understand those that are survivors and those that are not survivors, making sure they understand about self-care, taking care of themselves, that this is a part of self-care. So we are in the community. we ain't playing. So we trying to do like seminars right now. Since this particular case, we're going to do a seminar with about, I think it's about 4 clinical psychologists on mental health. So now we're going to take a different approach, and we're going to hit the mental health part, and we're going to hit that for those that are survivors, because during and after breast cancer they need it, and then before, there's some things that we're just not talking about. As women, not just young women, as women, some things that we're just not talking about. So we really are advocating in the community. We are, the grant has really helped us with this particular program. And I really know that we're going to learn so much more as we go up to Vegas this weekend with Sylvia's group, NCBC, just looking to see what kind of new things have come out. What mark are we missing? What else can we do, to be able to help these ladies more? Sergio, I think that's all. That's the last one. I think that's the last one.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I'll stop it. 1 moment.
Okay. I think that was the last one. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Janice, and let me applaud you for the great work that you are doing and working with MD Anderson, a very reputable center. Clearly, to receive a grant for $3.8 million speaks volume about you
Yeah.
leadership and the goals and objectives that you have in your mission to help to reduce the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer.
Mhm.
I know
Yes,
you.
Miss Sherry has a question, I think.
Yes, I know that you and Lisa know this, and Lisa will probably mention it when she talks about voices of Black women. DC and Houston shares the ranking in terms of women with incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer. So I am so pleased to hear and see that you are working to change those numbers. So thank you
Yes.
so much again.
Yes. Thank y'all.
So we have, Sherry has her hands up and has her hand up. So Sherry, you have a question?
Dennis, thank you for all your work and what an amazing
Thank you.
presentation. I read your story in Thelma's newsletter, and I was wondering if you don't mind, you spoke about when you got the diagnosis, they basically said, or the doctor basically said, that's it, you're done, you're gonna die. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how that's influenced you, your navigation, and maybe a little bit more about your story. Did you go get a second opinion, or you're still here today? So
Yes.
obviously that was wrong advice. So, and it was many years ago. So there's probably even more different treatments, but just a little more information about that. I was curious.
Absolutely. So when I was diagnosed, and I was actually stage 1 in situ. And then I came back again about 3 months later. When I woke up, there was a swelling in the chest. It was red. So I worked in the medical field, so I knew a whole lot about something. And so anyway, I was right back in the doctor's office. At that time, they did a needle aspiration, and he said that it was a reoccurrence into the chest wall, and my days would be short. I think telling me that my days would be short is kind of like gave you a power, like, oh no, so I fought that with all that I had, and I had to go through Cytoxin, Azithromycin, some hard drugs at that time. They don't do that anymore. And I had to go through radiation. Now, they didn't protect my heart doing radiation, they do now, but 10 years down the line, I started having the shortness of breath and couldn't hardly do anything. And I went back and had a cardiac catheterization where they go into the heart, and I was 95% blocked in the heart. And so I had to have a stent put in, and that was from the radiation. And so that gave me, even with the second diagnosis, and that gave me an even harder fight to be able to be in the community, to be able to really make sure that the ladies understand when they're diagnosed what the doctor is saying to them. And if they're not understanding, or they don't agree, or they don't like the doctor, to make sure that they get another opinion. I didn't get another opinion. I was satisfied with the doctor, but if I knew then what I know now, I would not have gotten a mastectomy. I would have just gotten a lumpectomy. That was devastating for me, to lose my breasts. I didn't want to do that. And that was like emotions, okay, just take it. And whereas now there's more information, there's Mr. Google. Where then it was maybe just the library or some encyclopedia, but there's Mr. Google now and things like that. And I know it's a personal choice, but for me, that was the most devastating part. I've since had reconstruction, but if I knew then what I know now, I would never have done that. But that gave me the fight to go on and fight, to be an advocate, to stand, to tell in the community, to try to help these ladies and men that are diagnosed. Written 2 books, written a journal in the community, to be able to help as much as I can. Yeah, thank you for asking.
Thank you. And
Thank
let's
you.
give Janice a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we hope that we will have the honors of inviting you back again.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to learn more about all of you all.
Okay.
Sylvia told me that. Yeah.
So it's my understanding, Sylvia Powers, that we both know virtually. The 3 of us have never met in person.
Oh, that's right.
Sylvia is going to be the guest speaker in January. Sergio, can you please mute if you're not speaking to avoid the background noise? I think that might be one of our ambassadors that should be muted. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Sylvia Powers will be the guest speaker in January. As all of you may recall, every January we start the year off with advocacy. And so hopefully, Janice, you'll be available, that you can come back and be a part of that meeting. And I wish I had one of these generous budgets that we could fly you in, and that could be an in-person meeting. But thank God for Zoom, because it can be everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's doing an advocate part Sunday up in Las Vegas. Yeah, she's doing a big advocacy part. That's going to be great.
It is, and Sylvia and I are co-chairing
okay.
An advocacy part, and we are going this year so that we will have all of our ducks in the row next year.
Okay, good.
So
good.
I hope to be able to share more of that with you. So thank you again.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
And moving right along and talking about advocacy and the incidence and mortality rates of breast cancer, we have here with us Lisa Baines, who will talk to us about Voices of Black Women and just update us on making strides. So our goal, and we're doing great on our goal, is to have our meeting ended by 8 p.m. So Lisa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share sound, and then I'm going to share my screen. That I think we have that now. Okay. Can you see my screen? No.
No.
Okay, I just stopped sharing. Hold 1 second. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All righty. Okay, and everybody can see it now? Okay, great. Great. Okay. Well, and you can see a thumbs up?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you all so much. And I'm Lisa Baines. I'm Associate Director of Development for the American Cancer Society for this Northeast region. And I'm here today just to talk to you a little bit about Voices of Black Women. It's a study that the American Cancer Society initiated this past March in an effort to get Black women to join this particular study, which is a landmark study because it's going to be focusing primarily and exclusively on Black women. We noticed that the cases of mortality have increased for Black women in certain areas, and we're trying to find out what is the reason for this. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to show you a little slide, but a little before I do that, just talking to you a little bit about our vision and what we do. Of course, the American Cancer Society, our vision is to end cancer as we know it for everyone. And the mission, of course, is to improve the lives of people with cancer and their families through things that we do: advocacy, research, patient support, and of course, it's in an effort to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to prevent, detect, treat, and survive cancer. So I have a short little film, and we're going to be talking about Voices of Black Women. So I can show that.
We know for too long Black women have suffered disproportionately from rates of cancer and other diseases, and with very few exceptions are more likely to die of cancer than any other race or ethnic group.
This study is entirely what we call observational. You are sharing with us how you live, what you do, what you may be exposed to in your life, and we're collecting that information from you.
Voices of Black Women is really to dig into that lived experience of Black women. We dig into aspects around trust of the medical care system. We dig into experiences of racism and discrimination and where that comes from.
You're telling me if I give you this information, it might give you insight into why we are getting cancer at higher rates, why we are dying at higher rates. I feel like it's an easy ask when you look at it from that perspective.
Everything that we're going to learn is going to impact Black women's health for the better. This is more than a health survey. That's why we call it a movement.
And that's just a little bit about what the initiative is. We have a huge study teams, and these are just some of the people that are on our study team, different backgrounds, the participant communications, who's on our scientific advisory board as well. Just to get an idea that it's a very diverse background. And there are health disparities, as we always know, and we know that there are in existence. Life expectancy is lower for Black women than it is for white individuals in general. And also death rate was higher for Blacks than it is for whites, and especially Black women, cancer from heart disease, stroke, and so forth. But collectively, Black individuals have the highest death rates and shortest survival of any racial or ethnic group in the USA for most cancers. One of the things that we're doing this study for is to trying to drive what is the driving disparities. Is it something that's going on that's environmental, behavioral? Are there social factors? Are there clinical factors, cultural factors, psychological factors, biological and genetic factors? What is the common denominator, or all these things combined? And this is a landmark study because, like I said, this is the first time. We've always had studies for women, for some studies for certain men, but there's nothing that's concentrated on Black women. So this is landmark in our area. Now, what the study is looking for, we're looking for this study, for eligibility for the study, Black women between the ages of 25 and 55. These particular women who have joined the study, we'd like to join the study. They should have no cancer history right now. We don't want them to have any cancer history except for basal or squamous skin cancer they could have had, and they have to reside in the United States. So those are the three eligible qualifications. A Black woman between the ages of 25 to 55, if you know of any. You know of any of those women that don't have a history of cancer and for themselves, and they reside in the United States. We'd love for you to spread the news for them to join. The study is very, very simple. There's an eligibility survey, which takes less than 5 minutes. Then there's a little informed consent piece that's about 10 to 20 minutes, and a registration survey that's about 10 to 15 minutes. The bulk of it, and it's just one time, takes about 60 to 90 minutes to go through some questions. It doesn't have to be done all at once. You can come back another day, finish it, and do it. Once you finish this introductory period where the life and health history survey is done, there are then just 2 annual follow-up surveys, which are only about 30 minutes each every single year. And we're going to be following you for the course of about a number of years, almost like 30 years, if that study can last that long, finding out, did you develop cancer? What did we find out was a common denominator? Has anyone in your family had cancer? And this is going to help us link together and find out what is the common cause of Black women in the area having these incidences of cancer. And also we know breast cancer is becoming predominantly noticed younger in Black women. So if you're having cancer, these instances are having people having cancer, Black women at age 30, when we're not even having mammograms, you know, suggesting to give mammograms until 40, and they have no history in their family, maybe this is something that we'll have to lower for certain women in certain areas. So it's going to help tremendously on how we navigate and do testing for cancers as well. Content that we're going to be covering, demographics. We're going to be asking questions on your demographics, healthcare, cancer screening, your reproductive health, mental health we'll be covering, behavioral and lifestyle questions will be asked. And those are those things that will be going to be asked of people during that exam, during that 60 to 90-minute screening process. If you're eligible to join, you become part of 100,000 women that we're trying to get into this study. You know the website, and we'll give you the website. This is the QR code. The website is voices.cancer.org. If you know of any women that fit into that category classification, please share the website with them and encourage them to go on ahead, register, and join, because we cannot make change unless we have people in the study. Amplify your voices through your networks and commit to share your story. I'd like to give a big shout out to Ms. Thelma D. Jones, who is one of our ambassadors for Voices and has been very prominent in sharing this information and getting many, many women signed up for this study, because we cannot make change unless people come forward and they let us know their history and let us know their story. I just wanted to end this and wrap this up, and thank you so much for helping us to end cancer as we know it for everyone. Right now, as you know, with all the DEI cancellations of things that are going on right now, and a lot of companies that we were able to reach out to, and they were reaching out for us just clearly. We don't want to run into roadblocks with this study. So we do need everybody hands on deck. If you know of any women, for yourselves to push these things out and push it out for them to join, because it's about us, it's about our health, and it's about making change. So I'm going to stop my share. Yeah. And some questions, or just thank you so much for the time to just share this important study in the hopes that we can get this information out to everyone.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing all that useful information. Don't forget, we can go to voices.cancer.org, and we need everyone, as Lisa said, to help amplify our voices. So if we don't have the information, if we don't share it, it will be difficult for ACS to make the changes. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And next, we will have an announcement by a fellow Houstonian, Janelle Leonard. And let me just say, Lisa, you might want to just announce, take 30 seconds, please, to announce your upcoming event in May.
Yes, yes. So we have an event coming up. It's called Brunch in Blush, and it's going to be on May the 10th, and it's going to be at the Fairmont Hotel in Washington, D.C. It is a luncheon. We have a fashion show, renowned jazz artists, singers, and 100% of the proceeds goes to cancer research, and 100% of your ticket, if you buy a ticket, which the tickets are $145, but includes brunch, everything, the fashion show, and a DJ, just a wonderful event. And Kristen Brissett Harris from WUSA channel is going to be our MC again this year, as well as some renowned speakers as well. It's a win-win, and 100% of your tickets, if you purchase ticket, goes towards your Making Strides Against Breast Cancer fundraising event, if you're going to be coming out to the walk as well. So tickets can be purchased on Eventbrite as well. So just go on Eventbrite and search Brunch in Blush in Washington, D.C. on Eventbrite. Thank you, Thelma.
Thank you. And I plan to be to that event, and a number of our ambassadors. I hope that you will be joining us, because if you miss it, you're going to be missing some great people that are actually a part of that event, that Lisa learned about them through our support group. For instance, Cecily will be one of the performers. Many of you know I've known Cecily for years, and I introduced her some years ago to ACS, and I have to tell her, ever since I introduced her to ACS, she hasn't been available to come back to us. So
She's just so wonderful.
yes, she's growing, and that's wonderful. The other person is Dr. Tracy Bethay that I introduced to ACS. Tracy and I have known each other for a while. Tracy is also very actively involved with Voices of Black Women, and she spoke at an event last year
Yes,
for,
she did.
for, for ACS. And Tracy also helped to organize a program around the harmful effects of makeup, hair products, and things like that, which we hope to do again, because if you're having an opportunity to keep up with what's going on in the news, the hair products and the chemicals in makeup is really causing some challenges, particularly for women of color, because the products, particularly the hair products and makeup, are targeted with their marketing strategies toward women of color. So I want to get that a discussion on that back, because the last time we did it, it was more than 3 years ago. So it's time for that to come back. So thank you, Lisa. And again, I hope everyone will attend the event and help to amplify your voices about Voices of Black Women. Again, is voices.cancer.org. And next we will have, sorry, Janelle, I introduced you and then we went back to
Not a
ACS
problem.
to talk about some of the great work that you are doing here in the Southwest community around digital empowerment. And you have a big event coming up at Arena Stage, no less. So you want to tell us about that?
Oh, I'm happy to tell you about that, and happy to give you the big broad brush stroke of the event. So I am I'm with SWANA, and I have a task force that's called the Digital Empowerment Task Force. It's a very new task force, so we're just kind of like neophytes and just getting started. But having said that, let me just say that, as Thelma mentioned, on Monday, March the 24th, we're having our monthly SWANA meeting. And this particular topic of focus has to do with technology, as well as the funding that the DC government has received in order to improve access to devices, access to training, access to support for all residents in the district. So the event is, as I said, March the 24th. It's from 7 o'clock to 8:30. And for this at Arena Stage, by the way, and we want to thank Arena Stage, because they do allow us to have our monthly meetings there, SWANA's monthly meetings there. But as I was saying, so the featured speaker for this event is Kevin Hughes, and Kevin Hughes is the administrator of the State Broadband and Digital Equity Office, and that falls under OCTO, under the mayor's umbrella, and OCTO is the Office of the Chief Technology Officer. So Mr. Stephen Miller, who is the director, who is the Chief Technology Officer for the district, is also going to be accompanying Kevin Hughes at this event. Now, the event is going to center around, as I said, the funding that has come to DC, and it totals up to $110 million. Okay. And so every state receives funding for programs to be implemented in their state. Maryland, for this particular program, received $22 million to implement a portion of it. I digress. Let me get back to our topic here. So Kevin is going to be there to talk about, one, the requirements. One, we had to do a DC digital equity plan. I'm not sure if you know that we do have one for the district, and it is focusing on how do you upskill, provide access, provide devices to residents in the District of Columbia. So the grant comes from the Department of Commerce, and one of the things that is specified was that they identified covered population, which are low and middle income individuals, persons with disability, persons with language challenges, veterans, aging. I'm sure I left out a group, but those are the general population. Having said that, let me just say that with the funding that we have enough to not only prioritize and cover the covered population, but we have enough to cover all residents in the district. So out of the mouth of the mayor, out of the mouth of Kevin Hughes, out of the mouth of Stephen Miller, they are being very inclusive about this. So this event is to really just kind of explore all of the opportunities that exist under these funds, all of the services. It allows for putting devices in hands free of charge. The funds pay for the devices. So I'm inviting you to come and listen to what they have to say about their plans on how they're going to implement the DC's digital equity plan. Once again, it is at 7 o'clock to 8:30, Arena Stage.
Okay, thank you so much. Sounds like there's a lot of great things at stake there. Now, you mentioned SWANA. Janelle, can you please tell us who is SWANA and what the acronyms represent, just in case some of our audience are not familiar with SWANA?
SWANA is, and it is so funny how Thelma passed the ball to me because she knows.
Well, I'll
She
be
knows.
happy to tell it, but I just didn't want to,
I know, I know, but she knows I'm one of the newest members of the team. I began working with SWANA, which is the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, and if you go and look us up on the web, it's swna.org, and you can see all of you can see all of the task force. As a matter of fact, Thelma has a task force, which I work with her on, which is the Youth Activities Task Force. And so anyway, but it's the neighborhood organization, and we really provide services to our residents. And it may be, for instance, with Thelma, working with young kids, doing a computer for kids training camp. And after they finish, they get to take home a computer. We did senior citizens, and after they finished the course, they took home a laptop. So many activities. And you know Thelma, if her hands touches it, she is all in, and she is participating and coming up with innovative ideas and services for the kids and for the community. So we really work with our covered population. I'm going to just put it that way. And we're all volunteer, by the way. You're muted, Thelma.
Thank you, Janelle, and thank you so much for sharing that information. So if in your area you're looking to expand your digital empowerment, I would encourage you to attend the meeting and get to meet Janelle, because she has an impressive background in technology here in the district and throughout the country. So that meeting again, as she said, is Monday night, March the 24th, 7 p.m. at Arena Stage. So I hope that Janelle will get to see you there. And, you know, earlier Hannah mentioned about the pioneering work that Arena Stage has done. The Southwest Neighborhood Assembly is a pioneer also. We were one of the first integrated civic associations in the city, and we were created in the 1960s, 1963. And we were created to help mitigate the social ills that had occurred around urban renewal. So we are out there and hope you can make the meeting. So we are now, so thank you again, Janelle. We are now coming to the end of our program. I do want to recognize two other of our ambassadors that came on, Anthea Peters and Angela Walker. But
you'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
Oh, gee. Sorry about that. And our theme for today's meeting was Still I Rise. And while Hannah mentioned parts of Maya Angelou's great poem, I couldn't think of a better way to end tonight. But first, I want to thank everyone, particularly Perry Hanlon, for hosting me again in her home. I also, and let me just give her daughter a plug. Perry Hamlin's daughter is a producer for the 1A, the Jan White show that I know some of you listen to and will probably start listening to now that I've mentioned. Her name is Haley Blassingame. And like Hannah, Haley is a graduate of Spelman, and she's a recipient of a 3 or 4 time recipient of scholarships. I noticed that Janice mentioned scholarships. So we have a very active scholarship program here in the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly, through the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly. And Perry just reminded me that Hannah was interviewed on the 1A show. So as you can see, we're all connected here, and it's very important. So again, I want to thank everyone for being here. We have learned a wealth of information about what the Angels Surviving Cancer doing under the great leadership of Janice Workoff. We also learned more about Arena Stage and invitations to come and see some of the great productions. The one in production now is called The Age of Innocence. We also got great greetings from Dr. Alejandra Hurtado Mendoza. And of course, thank you, Lisa, again, for sharing the information about Voices of Black Women and the upcoming event in May. And so with that, I'd like to close in reading Maya Angelou's Still I Rise, and it's in remembrance of my mother. When we think about the great women during March, this month, Women's History Month, I cannot think of a greater person to give kudos and salute to than my mom, Mrs. Lizzie Banks Harper, and I am a spitting image of her. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Sergio is going to put it on the screen for me.
One moment, please.
Thank you. I'll just remind everyone the website for Voices of Black Women is voices.cancer.org. And the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly is swna.org. Okay. All right. Still I Rise, just written by Maya Angelou, who stepped in this world in 1928 and departed 2014. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Where are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I'll walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of ties, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the hut of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrous clear, I rise. Bring the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you. Good evening and good night, everyone.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Wonderful, Thelma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank
That
you.
was beautiful. Thank you very much.